What up? Make a quick video about how to get your drums loud using Maximus. We're going to use the saturation features of Maximus and not the compression features. All we're trying to do is just get all the volumes to be peaking at the same level, and then from there we can just turn it up. It's really easy. First thing, this is just a visualizer down here, and pretty much it is a Maximus, but it's not routed to output anything, and so it's just going to tell us how loud things are. And so take a look at this. This is just pure, I just laid out some simple drums. This is them with literally nothing on them. So you can see here we have these big spiky peaks in the snare, and then the kick is kind of down here. That's where it gets really hard to make your drums really loud, because if I was to just go turn up the volume of these right now, the transient of that snare is going to hit 0 dBs before the kick. So pretty much whenever the transient of the loudest thing hits 0 dBs, that's kind of your limit. So we're limiting ourselves a ton by having this snare so loud. We could go just turn the snare down pretty easily, obviously. And that's not too bad. That really does like kind of even them all out. But I'm going to show you a trick that's going to let you get your drums sounding louder. Their perceived loudness is higher. Well, we also go in and cut down some dBs from the total peak of those drums. And so I'm gonna turn the snare back to where it was. I kind of liked how it was sounding. Now all of my drums are already routed to a drum bus inside of the mixer, so like kick here, you know, everything routed right here, which is all ending up right here at my drum master channel. And so on that channel, pretty much where all the drums are routed to, that's where I'm going to open the Maximus. First thing we're going to do is just go to every tab inside of all of the different bands, and we're just going to turn the compression off because we don't need those. And we're going to go back to the master. So now compression's off on every band. We're on the master band, so the entirety of the spectrum on there. All you're going to do is just turn this threshold knob a very tiny bit down. This knob right here, turn it just down a tiny bit, and that'll turn your saturator on. All it needs is just a little bit to be on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go just put the ceiling down a bit to sort of reflect where those drums are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the ceiling down just so that we're cutting off the peaks of all of those drums. And so what that's going to do is obviously just chop them wherever the ceiling is. There's no way a sound could get past there. So now inside of my Maximus, there's a little bit of that purple signal. That's what's being cut. And so if we go back over to the analyzer, you can see now the kick and the snare are being cut at the exact same point. That's the start of the idea. Now we have predictable peaks in our drums, and we can go from there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this post knob up just a little bit. This is pretty much just to taste. Whenever you think it gets too saturated, whenever the sound kind of goes bad for you, that's obviously the limit. And so we're going to turn it up till we hear that. So I can hear it in the kick a little bit. In the low end of that kick, we're getting pretty crunchy. I kind of like that personally. That's kind of in my style, is that I'm going to smash the kick a little bit harder than maybe I should. What you can see here now is that we're cutting peaks lower while getting more perceived loudness. That's the whole idea here. We are peaking at -9 dBs. I mix way closer to like -2 dBs for my pre-masters and stuff. That's definitely stylistic. You could mix wherever. You could just leave all of 9 dBs of headroom. So what I'm going to do now is just go in the channel in the mixer slot right after the Maximus. There's a couple ways to do this. I'm just going to use a parametric EQ just to boost the volume of it. And so I'm not going to do any EQing right now. I'm just going to go boost this thing up. We know that we have 9 dBs of headroom. Maybe I'll boost it 6 dBs. We've got our drums, those two simple steps, just Maximus and then volume boost. And we've got these loud drums that are very controllable to where the peaks of them are. Also, we're kind of compressing or saturating enough sound into there that the perceived loudness is much more. So that's it. I literally do this. Step one in my workflow is just make drums, and then I just put stuff over the top of the drums. And so this is like every time I start a new track, I just lay out some simple drums, push them up. Essentially, like what I'm doing is just mastering the drums just inside of the mix. Then I go from there and sort of use the drums as if it's a benchmark for how loud the mix can go. So if I start bringing in bass sounds, melodies, FX and stuff like that, and they're shooting louder than these drums, I know I'm already making a mixing mistake because I've predetermined that the drums are going to be the loudest thing. So they give me a constant reference throughout the entire process of making the track. If something is too loud or too quiet, I determine that relative to the volume of these drums that I know are to the exact specs that I want them to be. So that's it. Super simple. Hope it helps. Catch you later.